Thank you, Lee. Before we start, I just want to mention that it's not a regular travel talk that we're doing because what you will be seeing here is the fact of us living in Romania. I am born in Romania then, and I have lived there for 4 years together. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that I am doing a video presentation, and it's 401 slides. So it's not the usual short slide presentation where you go slide through slide. I created a video so you can just leisurely look at the pictures while I'm talking, and I'm hoping I can keep pace with my own writing and video. I tested it, it should work. But yeah, if you miss 1 or 2 pictures, it should be okay. There are clusters of pictures thematically. So, 20 pictures of monasteries. You don't have to look at every one of them. So that's that. The presentation itself will be 30 minutes, and then we'll have 10 to 15 minutes for questions and answers. And that leaves us enough time for you to look at some of the things that we brought here, and I can tell you some things about it. We are seated because of the knee, then have a knee replacement, so it's easier on the knee, on concrete. And then one other thing is, because this is about a place we've lived in, I'm not doing a presentation with history, geography, culture of Romania, anything that you can find on Wikipedia yourself. You can look it up. There's a lot of information there. You'll just get, a taste of our life there and, how it is to live there. So with that, I'm going to start with Bună ziua și bine ați venit. Hello and welcome. Those are the words in Romanian. This is a presentation about the land, the people, and food of Romania, and in particularly of Transylvania. Lee already told you I'm Alexandra, Moldovan, and this is my husband, Bennack. I am a native of Romania and of Transylvania in particular, and I am a relative transplant, new transplant to Alpine since 2010, and Dan is from Alpine himself. These pictures are of my home in Romania and the surrounding of the home.
Apple trees.
Peonies and roses and jasmine.
Her mom likes to grow flowers.
This is my mother,
Her name's
Anna,
Anna.
and this is my father.
His son, Alexandra.
And this is the ancestral home of my father, where he grew up in a farmer family.
This is more of the farmhouse. It's
Very old. Adobe. Cluj-Napoca is my hometown. It's a city with a history dating back to at least the Roman times.
there's Romulus and Remus being struggled by that.
It's currently a vibrant city with everything modern that you can think of, but also a lot of remnants of communism that Romania was under. And unfortunately, I have no pictures of communist buildings that I myself took. I mean, old buildings that were built in communist times. But these buildings you're seeing are places that I grew up around. I used to walk by many of these buildings, except for this one, which is a very newly built arena. When I went to middle school, high school, to university, this was basically my backyard. And for the 4 years that Dan and I lived together in that place in Cluj, we've walked by many of these buildings on the streets. just like every other local does. Cluj is a city of almost 300,000 inhabitants, with a metropolitan area of 400,000, and is counted among the first four cities in the country. It's currently leading in the IT, academic, and cultural sector of Romania, has a very vibrant young population. You can walk by or drive at your own risk and and see everywhere around you modern and the old together with electric scooters or electric cars, electric buses will zip through the narrow streets and the heavy traffic. But then you can find yourself walking down narrow streets and see this building, which is an old guild tower in the ancient wall of the city.
Used to be a fortified city in medieval times.
Yeah. This, for example, is an area where in middle school and high school, all of us on this street, we would hang out. You know, it was where we would take our break. This was my high school, middle school and high school, where I went to school. This is a picture from the inside of the university building where I went to study. And this is another one of those buildings. I guess this is one recent construction. You can see. So Cluj is very busy most of the time of the year, except in the summertime, when all the students go home, and then it looks like a completely different city. It's very quiet, and a lot of the locals can come out and actually enjoy the city. One of the largest universities of the country is in Cluj-Napoca, and you can see when the students are there that it's so busy, it's crowded, like you're almost going elbow to elbow.
There's like 40,000 students there, right? Wow.
Probably with including the private universities, yeah. So, it's going a little slower than I thought. I was coming to this slide, and you can see that while you see all those pictures, or you can see the modern electric cars, you can go and see a cobbler shop or a hat maker shop, or at the tailor shop. They're slowly disappearing, but hopefully we'll keep some of the artisanship alive. That's definitely a perfect mix of the old and new when you travel to Cluj. But, of course, Cluj is not the only place that you can visit in Romania. This is, for example, Sighișoara, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And this is another place called Brașov. And then you'll see several pictures of buildings from the capital Bucharest that have really impressive architecture if you are into that kind of thing and you know how to avoid the crowds. Whereas if you think Cluj is crowded, Bucharest is even more so. But you'll find in any of these big cities, a modern Romania, like any other metropolis that you can see in the West. Romania also has a coastline to the Black Sea, and not as impressive with the white sands of other countries, but it's nevertheless the Black Sea, and then we have the Danube Delta, which is impressive, and the Danube crosses from the southwest to the southeast, and then eventually flows into the Danube Delta, another one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So for a country that's slightly smaller than the size of the state of Michigan, you'd think that having a coast or maybe having mountains is enough, but Romania seems to have it all. At least we think that. We're pretty proud of it. So because of the geographic positioning, but also the natural and other riches in the country, you can imagine that Romania was a cross of many people's interests who were conquering the territory from very early on. Urban life with the fancy and quaint cafes and restaurants look very attractive to a large size of the population. Romania's urban population is 55% of the entire population. So when we visit, we try everything. As you can imagine, there's every possible creative way that people have thought of using the spaces in Romania. So, you can go to these wine bars or cafes and enjoy just something. This is, for example, a shop in a small town, Sydney. It's full of books on the walls. You can enjoy a place where people like books. There's street life and recreational activities. We have dance festivals on the street. We coffee shops, like everywhere, especially young people, they all line up for the good coffee. Yeah, and we do it too, all along with everybody else. Yeah.
It's a nice shot.
We visit the spas every time we can, in the summertime or in the wintertime. This is my mom enjoying the fact that she can go to a spa and not take care of the grandchildren or the house. So yeah, this was an old medieval castle that was turned into a spa, so we went there one of the winters we visited, and you can see it's pretty fancy. You have this old furniture, who knows how old, and old paintings, and we were able to be a part of it, by being there. And the spa, you can see here, but you can't tell, this was a salt spa. Romania is known for hot mineral springs or salt lakes and springs. You can also go to very fancy modern wineries if you like wine. Romania has that too. I'm not a wine connoisseur. I cannot tell you whether the wines are great or not. But we drank them. We tried them. But I'm sure nothing of the like of Italy or French wine, something like that. Or unlike our neighbors, Moldova, which has excellent wines, if you didn't know that. But then you can take a stroll back in time to hundreds of years before, when you're visiting these wooden churches of Marangaș or the churches of Moldova. These are two other UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and you can walk through these old monasteries or churches, and it looks like the time stood still. These particular pictures are from a trip that I took from my hometown Cluj, going north to the border to Ukraine in North Transylvania. And this is Maramuresh. You can visit all these monasteries with design and artisan craftsmanship that withstood time and are there to enchant us to this day. You can wander from one to the other and you will find woodworking and painting, and you can find odd cemeteries if you like that, or you can stay in one of the churches and listen to the Byzantine music that the Orthodox Church just is part of the culture. Every time there's a sermon, and they sound from the churches, and none of these places will look like the other.
There are also existing monasteries.
They're inhabited.
Yeah.
Right.
Inhabited.
The people live there.
I like this one because it's astrology. The iconography in the Orthodox churches is really, really beautiful. That's Alex and her dad.
This was an art restoration worker, students, and everything. They were working on restoring some of the paintings. So villages and people that are working the land, they live like time has, and you can see it. It looks like time has stopped 100 years ago, except for the cell phone thing. Because we didn't have landlines very frequently when the cell phones appeared, just took over the entire country. This is a particular cemetery that I wanted to share pictures with you because it's unique. It's called the Gay Cemetery of Săpânța. And it features these very colorful, naive art style crosses with rhymes on them that are depicting the deceased person's life, and in particular, the not so attractive features of the person. They are hilarious. These are museum setups of the way the places were set up in the homes, the way people lived, and tools they were using to live. But much of it still exists. People still use much of the tools, but not the very old ones. But the pottery, the bread ovens, things like that still exist.
What do you mean by very old? 100 years, 50, 60?
These are, that's the way my grandparents grew up and things like that. But, yeah. But they were, that's how my grandmother's house used to look like, and still does in some corners. Yeah.
What, when you said Orthodox Church, what religion is that?
It's a denomination that is following the Greek Orthodox rite. There's the Orthodox of the East, like in the Slavonic countries like Russia, Ukraine, they are that right. But Orthodox is basically like Catholics. They have pretty much the same rules, except they have different heads of the church. The Pope for the Catholics and anyway. They have extraordinary garb and
Yeah, the priest, the Greek Orthodox priests there in Romania, I've seen some on TV and in real life. They're richly gilded with robes and staffs and things like that. It reminded me of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. Very warrior, but they're much more devout.
So, next I would like to show you a short series, and it's going fast. I know it's a lot of information. I hope you can take it in. That's why I tried to stop it for a minute. It's a series of memorials or museums that are dedicated to notable people of Romania. And the first one that we're seeing here is the memorial birth home of the writer and the human rights activist Elie Wiesel. He was born in northern Transylvania in the town of Sighet, which is a border town with Ukraine. Wiesel was a Holocaust survivor that wrote the memoir Night, and he was and is still a Nobel Prize laureate. In the same town where Elie Wiesel's memorial home is, in Sighet, there's the memorial for the victims of communism and of the resistance that was established in a former high-security prison that was holding the political prisoners of notable names especially. The museum dedicates a significant part of its exhibit talking about the band of writers, authors, and even has a room dedicated to poetry, the one you're seeing here, as it would, because poetry was seen as a tool of resistance. This is the memorial home of George Koshbog. The humble beginnings are shown here of this Romanian poet and translator who was one of the banned writers under the communism. And his political subtext stirred the minds of the people over 100 years ago when he was active, and it still inspires people to this day. Now we're shifting gears. And I'm going to show you here a region about 1 hour away from Cluj-Napoca, my hometown, south of my hometown. There is a well-known salt mine that was transformed into a huge tourist attraction. And you can see these huge halls where you walk down an enormous amount of steps and you get to this place where you can find a major amphitheater for concerts, a Ferris wheel, a tennis court, a playground, and then there's even at the bottom a lake where you can see in the corner that you can put a boat in. Apparently the layer of salt in this salt mine is 400 meters. That's about 1,300 feet deep.
Wow.
And you walk a lot of stairs if you don't want to wait for the elevator. It's probably better to walk down and take the elevator up. No. Yeah, that's the Ferris wheel and, all kinds of adventure activities. People spend time in these salt mines because what they're known for in Romania is it's called balneal therapy, so therapy through salt inhalation that helps the lungs and asthma and things like that. It's an old tradition in Romania and they still do it. We're back to the modern above ground Romania, and here you can see we were walking around town and you see everywhere these electric vehicle with chargers, so charger station everywhere. There's nooks, like little places that you can rent for however long you want, just to have an office space to work on the side of the road, or these drop boxes that people can pick up their packages from, so that you don't have to be home when the delivery man comes. Because in Romania, if you leave it on the porch, it will be gone. Well, it's a big city, probably here too, in a big city. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of our activities in the winter time. But the first thing I wanted to mention is, if you can see here where this flag is, that's the Romanian flag. That's the building that Dan and I got married in. It's the same building that my parents got married in. So it's pretty much everybody that lives in Cluj gets married in that same room. Likely the same room. Yes.
Civil service.
Yeah, you have to have a civil service to get your marriage certificate. And so wintertime in Romania, it's very dark, very early. So we spend a lot of time to enjoy ourselves. Romanians have, for example, around Christmas, we have these Christmas markets starting in December, going through the first week of January. They are open every day with entertainment, full on, going when the dark starts, but during the day you can always find food or anything, like that you might enjoy, like trinkets or so. But if you have too much snow and too much cold, you can walk into a bookstore or into an antique bookstore like this one, find a book and sit down and read, because even though there's modernity, Romanians still buy a lot of books. At least that's what we saw when we were in the bookstores. People were buying lots of books.
And they know where everything is.
So the last part of this presentation about the places showcases some of our favorite parts and things to do is to be in the mountains. We love the mountains. We love the forest, the ancient traditions of raising animals, clear water, the crisp air. You just, lost into that world, and you can forget about the world. Romania has recently finished, and it's going to be inaugurated in October, over 1,000 kilometers, which is over 600 miles of long-distance hiking trail, the like of the Via de Compostela, that is crossing Romania from the northeast to the southwest, mostly through rural Transylvania, highlighting the history, the culture, and especially the nature. And this is called Via Transylvanica. And if you need any of this information, I can write it on the board later.
All these shots that you're seeing here is a place we visited with a family that we frequented.
This hiking trail is not going through my hometown because it's focusing on the rural and more nature kind of trails, but you can go outside, an hour outside of the city, and you can get into these beautiful mountains and hike and be in nature.
In the center of Romania are the Carpathian Mountains, if you're familiar with that.
This is like a refuge place.
For hikers.
Mm-hmm.
This was really ominous, very tall, looked like something out of The Lord of the Rings.
This was about places and some of the people, and then we're talking next about food, which is his favorite subject. As everywhere in all nations, Romanians have a connection to their culture and history through food, and Romanians are no different. whether it's street food or foraged food on the side of the road. Like these cranberries and blueberries, or it's in restaurants. Well, everybody loves food. We pretty much have foods as central to our life and well-being, and it's part of keeping up with the traditions. And last winter, when Ben and I spent their time before Christmas, my mom and I spent a whole week making elaborate foods or simple foods and meals like this, pastries and everything. We did that for a week. She didn't bake by herself.
Well, yeah, it's a major undertaking.
Yeah.
Those are eclairs.
Yeah.
But of course, the best part of the food is when you share it with others. So we share it with family, we share it with friends, with newly acquired acquaintances, and we make our best memories around the dinner table.
And we decorate.
And some of the worst memories too sometimes. So, yeah, you see an array of dishes, like stuffed cabbage rolls and eggplant mousse and meatballs and sausages and cheese platters and, you know, all of the foods that are basically foods that you will see on a person's home table at home for any holiday or nature event. These are the Christmas, Easter. That's a menu, just this week.
This is a happy moment.
You're gonna find roasted chestnuts at the Christmas market. You can find,
Those are roasted chestnuts there.
you can find sweet wine. That can be perfectly enjoyed inside or outside. I mean, it's everywhere all the time. This is something you're gonna find in Shula. We love corn puffs. These are donuts and chocolate booths.
This is all-
pork products,
Sausages,
everything.
and the greatest sausages there.
But then you have pizza too. Excellent pizza, if I may say so.
Yeah. This
We
was,
just,
this was another great moment.
but these are my favorites, the pastry shops. You basically walk around town and you find these butter-based or cream-based or fruit-based tarts and cakes and gelato, everything possible that you can imagine. You just walk around and you'll find a place like that. And we don't just eat it, we also grow it. My parents still cultivate and preserve the food that they grow on 3,000 square feet. Like my mom right now is preserving a lot of cucumbers and a lot of beans. Nothing like fresh, ripe tomatoes, of course, that you grow yourself to make your creamy juice. And you'll see those pictures, some of them. They grow these tomatoes that some are the size of, you know, like a big volleyball. And there are a kilo. How much is that?
2.2.
Yeah, 2.2 pounds. One tomato. So these are tomatoes that are grown. This is my dad's, making tomato juice. That, of course, everybody enjoys in the winter time. And my father is a great mushroom forager. He knows a few mushrooms, but when he finds, it's a treasure. Of course, all of us enjoy, so you can imagine the taste. These are some of the pictures that I took last winter at the farmer's market in the winter. This is a farmer's market that's open daily. It's day, every day for many, many hours. Vendors are there selling their food.
Making sausage there.
Yeah. And this is the cellar with where the magic is stored.
Yeah, basement cellar in the house.
That's what, where all the joys start when the winter comes.
There's my smoked sausage.
We basically, you can tell, we all love the food and the
These
winter.
are apples from the orchard.
Orchard outside.
This was the day I met her father.
Yeah, so, we love food and we set up the table as quickly as possible in time on any occasion. But of course, even more so for special occasions. And you see that we load the tables with the straw and you can take off.
That was my
Where's the picture?
many years ago.
And it was breakfast. That was my birthday.
Wow.
And they're all homemade. The chocolate
did you
cake
bring
I
some?
made, and this one my mom made for me. So, yeah. Mulțumesc.
Mom and Dad and Alex.
Thank you. This is the presentation. I hope it was okay to go I'm just gonna run the rest of the pictures. These are just pictures of people that, I know, family, friends, anybody. I'm not gonna say names or anything about the people because internet lives forever. And especially the younger people in my family, I don't want them to be embarrassed. Yeah, if you have a question for Dan or for me, go ahead.
How did y'all meet?
Internet.
Okay,
Your English is so perfect. Where did you learn English? And then do you speak with me?
I can speak some of it. I understand a fair amount, but I'm frightened.
And he's very honest when he says that.
Yeah.
So say something for us now.
Часть вопросов.
Fizioterapie. Am mâncat foarte bine.
Și?
Și am obosit. I'm tired. I can't drink.
Well done.
I can't very well when I'm tired.
But don't put him on the spot. I learned, I have an ease of learning languages. English was my niece and nephew learned English in kindergarten. But I learned in school as my second foreign language that I learned. You'll go to Romania and you'll find out that it's very common for people to speak at least 2, 3, 4 languages.
So she's modest. She speaks Romanian.
No.
She speaks English. She speaks German. She speaks French, and she's learning Spanish.
She spoke Spanish with the citizenship students
Yeah.
before she became a citizen.
Yeah.
It's really handy when you're traveling to have somebody that can do that when you can't.
I'm not afraid to make mistakes. That was always my motto. I love languages. I love to communicate. I love people. So when I go somewhere, I want to know everything. I'm very curious. So I just go ahead and ask, okay, tell me what this is, and people are very happy to help. So, but English was part of learning in school, and I perfected my English while I was in college, in university college. When I was studying social work, we were the first generation, like very young generation of trained social workers, and there were no manuals. in Romania that were in, that we could learn from. So I used a lot of American social work books to learn from, basically for myself, because I was very curious.
Alex?
Jim?
Can you talk a little bit about how life changed after Ceausescu left office and the transition from communism to?
So, in '89 was the revolution, that I was 12 when it happened. So I'm aware of the time when the transition happened. I would say that even though it felt very slow for us living there, it was very fast change. Like, even though in where I was from, there was a period of stagnation in the 90s where things were really hard for a lot of people. I could tell that my parents were having a really hard time with making the shift. But I'm taking that my parents are a little more modern than most, but still very traditional. They say they would never change it for what it was before, even though that's all they've seen their whole life until their 40s when the change came. So it became modernized very fast because there were investments. A lot of the industry was bought by foreign investors, and they came. And it's a big, my hometown at least. It's a big university town. We've always had exchange students or professors coming. So the ideas would move, but of course it still feels to me when I'm going and visiting Romania that some things are just like they were a long time.
Alex is being modest, so when she was a child, she and her brother would like wait in bread lines at the store for a long time.
Yeah.
And what, bananas were a treat at Christmas
Yeah.
only?
Bananas and peanuts. Then there would be one time a year we would get a bundle of bananas that we would get to enjoy. And one time I asked my dad to open one that was not ripe, and he told me it wasn't, so we wasted the banana. Things like that. So, I lived in Germany too. And when I was working with refugees, with minors, and Romanian young kids, they weren't really refugees, but they were kind of part of the same group. And my coworkers would ask me, it's like, man, these Romanian kids love bananas and chicken. And I said, yes, they do, so do I. It was a treat, and still is probably in the psyche. These kids have not seen the revolution or the times before, but it must be in the Romanian psyche. The bananas are a great thing. But yeah, it was hard. I know it was hard for my parents, and I'm still uncovering the levels of hardship that my parents have lived through. Yes.
Alex, the picture you showed of your family's garden looked more like a farm to me.
Yes.
Are a lot of families food self-sufficient in your country?
Romania was agrarian up until, very recently, still in the 90s, and it's still a big portion of the country is agrarian. But during the communist times, it was the way we survived. My grandparents were farmers on my dad's side. My mom's side were homesteaders, what you would imagine true homesteaders. She was basically living off whatever she could produce. That was all she had. There was no money, very little money. So they had to have, if you had the land, you had to produce something. So I grew up with my parents, they bought a piece of land. I think in the picture where you saw those onions from a long time ago, that's an old picture. That was a piece of land where currently the house is that we were growing food on. And in the 90s, still to supplement, some things that were, not because they were not available. I think things became available, but the money wasn't there. In Ceausescu's time, there was money, but not availability of food because everything was rationed and you would get so much butter for a week and so much bread for a week.
And Ceausescu was exporting the agriculture.
Yes, he was using any way to sell or to use any of the riches of the country to pay off debt, so Romania wouldn't have any debt toward anybody, Russians or otherwise. Rick, what did you want to
I
say?
wanted to ask about the tombstones. The kind of strange folk tombstones were, was that just specific to that cemetery?
It was just that one place. This guy, the first picture that was there was a tomb of that particular guy who started it all.
You should give an example or two of what's written on those
Let me,
headstones, or headboards, I guess.
I go to the pictures.
So it's an individual folk artist who's responsible for all of those.
Yeah, and somebody took over,
Uh-huh.
and it's still being done. But this one guy, he was just, I guess, the person doing the cemetery, taking care of the cemetery.
And taking it upon himself to point out the flaws of those who died.
But it was a village. This was a small place where everybody knew everybody, and it wasn't a secret anything he was writing about. Just like, if you know some people in Alpine, we kind of know what our trades are, But yeah, let me go and see. There was one I think I took that was pretty hilarious. And then I can go back to the video. Let me stop this. I can restart the video if you want to see more people pictures. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Have your folks come and visited you here?
No chance.
Her brother,
My dad is afraid of flying. My mom doesn't go without him.
her brother and sister-in-law and kid came over a couple of years ago, right before
They
COVID.
did.
They came and visited us. We took them to Big Bend National Park and showed them a bit of Texas, which is completely different. The landscape here is very vast. There's less open space.
So this is the guy who started it all. He's the creator, right? 1908, he was born 1908 and died in 1977. Can I see this?
Is this shape traditional with the triangle on top?
Yeah. Okay, this is pretty. So under this heavy,
Speak a little louder.
I have to concentrate. Under this heavy cross lies my poor mother-in-law. If she had lived 3 days more, I would have lied in there with her. Those of you that are passing by, try not to wake her up. Because if she comes home, she'll start again to go after me. So I'll try to behave myself so I don't have to, so she doesn't come back. And those of you that read this, don't let it happen to you too. Find yourself a better mother-in-law. To live better. And then it says she lived 82 years.
So what are these made of? Are they inlaid wood or?
It's wood, yeah. Painted and I don't think it's mosaic. I don't remember seeing any mosaic, but it might be. I'm really not So in the little picture, that's her scolding someone?
Yeah.
Probably didn't. So it's not the creator that wrote that, but it's probably like the son-in-law story.
Or is it just text?
Yeah, they're supposed to be kind of rhyming. Okay, that's, oh. Yeah. This is the one about the guy who's a forester. A forest. Yeah. Yeah, that's the close up. I think you can see here that it's carved wood. Anyway. Anything else? Yes, Sal.
So what can you tell us about the most famous Transylvania?
The famous Transylvania or the most famous?
The most famous Transylvania.
Oh, it was a mistake. No, it's, he was a count, a very well-known, cruel man.
His name.
And his name was Vlad Tzepes, but he was coming from the family of Dracul. And Vlad Dracul is the name actually that comes from the dragon family. But it's also a name, Dracul means the devil in Romania. But I don't think it had that kind of connotation then, except for him. Because what he did, he would cut off the heads of his,
Turks, right?
yeah, yes, but what were they? His
They were
enemies.
Yeah.
Enemies. He cut off the heads of his enemies, but also of his friends when he didn't like them. And he would put them on top of a stick. So he was called Vlad the Impaler. That's what Tzepes means. The tzapa is the stick that you put on. Yeah. Satisfactory? Oh, this new movie, the series about the Adams family daughter, what's her name? Yeah, it was filmed there at the castle. So, it's a curiosity. I haven't seen it, I don't know, but people are saying it's pretty good.
So is Transylvania a big part of Romania or just?
It's one of the three biggest regions of Romania. It used to be, it's a historical region. And it encompasses some smaller regions that are, cultural regions. But you can read a lot about it on the internet. But Transylvania has been known as part of the three big regions of Romania, Wallachia, Moldovan, and Transylvania.
Can you tell them about this?
You can tell them.
Oh.
You were there.
Yeah, we spent a week, several times going outside of Cluj. We'd go up into,
The mountains that I talked about.
what's the name of the place again?
Maguraka.
Yeah. And so we just like walked the hills and stuff like that, and we met some of the local farmers, and they just said, "Come on up." And so this was one of the ladies that was up there. She just pulled this huge
Right.
bread out of a wood fire. We sat down and had some of that, and then they said, "Come back tomorrow. We're having a birthday." So we did. And a lot of those things that you saw of the farm animals is at her farm. That's her husband.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's
It's a way of life that's
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
People still live like this.
yeah.
And not that much more, and a lot of it is probably getting lost into, everybody's trying to
These were some of the
amass.
kids that we ran into up there. They hiked around with us. We just finished watching Fiddler on the Roof, the movie, and we were just remarking, wow, it's just like being in Romania.
Yeah, it looks exactly the way you would imagine a village in Romania. No different. Except, of course, I don't think that we had any Jewish settlements like that. Yes.
Is there much tourist activity in Romania? Is it a tourist destination, or do you, and if you do, who goes there? Who do you see mostly there?
Well, it's Cluj is a very, for example, my hometown is a very well-known IT hub. Like a lot of the Western companies are establishing headquarters, I mean, not headquarters, big companies in Romania, because the labor force, of course, is a little cheaper than in the West. And they, Cluj and a few other centers in the country train a lot of computer engineers. Huge amounts of students go through it. And right now, yeah, my brother married into a computer engineer family. Mother-in-law, father-in-law, sister-in-law, everybody are computer engineers. So they, they come from Germany or anywhere from the West or from the US. My brother used to work for a US company too. And they hire these people, so they inevitably come to Romania and see, oh my goodness, the tomatoes taste so good here. I want to come back. So there's a lot of that, but Romania has estimated population by the Romanian government that lives in diaspora is 8 million, and the entire country's population is 18. So it's a huge population of the country that currently lives in diaspora. Many of us married to non-many of us. And so, we have friends, we have, people like I was in Germany. My friends would come and visit when I would go there, or when I went back, they came and stayed with me. Some of my friends are visiting my parents because they're there, even though I'm not there. So there is tourism. A lot of the interest is in the fact that Romania still had a pretty diverse ecology, at least up until recently. We're still having pristine forests, but they're disappearing because of the logging, like everywhere else. So, you can go on trails and you can go up in the mountains and nobody's going to ask you where you're going. You can actually get off the trail and do hiking. And it's, in other places, it's unheard of.
I have an anecdote.
But we do have lots of tourism.
So all these shots here of musical instruments and things like this, close to where Alex's parents live, there's a lot of hills, undulating hills and things like that. And this one man we used to call the Rose Man because he grew roses and all kinds of plants that he would sell, ornamental plants. They were having a party with music, and we kind of wandered into the party and decided to stay. And Alex knew some of the people there. But one of the first phrases that I learned in Romania
was a TV show.
It was a TV show. It's sort of like, I'm going to be a star.
I'm going to be a star in Romania.
So I walked up to this one man who was there, and I said, "Vreau să fiu mare vedette in Romania." Which means I want to be a big star in Romania. What did the guy say to me?
I am a big star in I heard that and I froze because this is a well-known professor of music and a well-known folk musician in Romania.
And they were performing there that day. So.
Yeah, so I was so froze. It's like, I can't believe you just told me.
But when she sat down and had some sausages together, which made it all worthwhile.
That's it. Thank you.
Alex, you mentioned that a neighboring country is Moldova, and your last name, is that connected somehow?
Probably, but when on the street that I lived, I lived on a street that had number 10. It was a street that went down to hundreds. You would look in the phone book, and you would find pages of Moldovans. It's such a common name. I don't come from Moldova. I come from Transylvania. Moldova is the region, but Moldova, the country, used to be part of the region of Moldova, the whole of Romania. It was just,
And they speak Romanian there.
they do, but it's just the what was I gonna say? The country of Moldova. It was split after the war. The Russians took a piece. They had to split a lot of the countries after the